right, so welcome to the THE podcast, brought to you by Contemporary Issues in Tourism, Hospitality and Events capstone class, part of the Tourism and Hospitality Management program at Temple University. I'm Elizabeth Mignano, and I'm joined with my co-hosts Molly Dugan, Garrett Shearing, and Ramaz Wali. We'd also like to introduce our guest speaker, Elizabeth Pham, who is a Temple University alumna. She graduated in 2017 with a bachelor's in science and kinesiology before completing her master's in health promotion management at American University. On this edition of the THE podcast, we are going to discuss burnout within the hospitality industry. So let's start talking about some current events.
Okay, so to all my hospitality workers out there navigating their way through this pandemic, THE podcast crew is here today to help you sit back, relax, and find ways to avoid the popular problem of employee burnout. According to the World Health Organization, employee burnout is seen as an occupational phenomenon and experienced at an international, national, and local level. Burnout refers to emotional, mental, and physical fatigue over a long period of time, which is very prevalent in the hospitality industry with long hours, constant customer service, and now an even more stressful work environment due to the pandemic. COVID-19 has increased the amount of employee burnout in the hospitality workplace as many employees are working virtually from home, overworking to avoid furlough and termination, or potentially on the front line as travelers come to their hotel. With that being said, Elizabeth, we just want to ask you, have you noticed burnout among your coworkers or other industry professionals that you talk to, or burnout in general?
Yeah, Molly, I think you hit the nail on the head with everything you said in terms of, just added stress right now. Everyone's feeling it because of COVID, and especially in the hospitality industry because people have to go to work, right? Like you can't stay home. And even if you are home, there's that added stress. But already with COVID going on, you have to be on the front line and you have to still, put a smile on your face and provide the best customer service. And that's not easy. Like we just had an election that was also really tough. Like there's so much going on in the world and you still have to, come to the workplace, be happy about it, kind of ignore everything when it's really hard, right? Like, and then on the other side, there's guilt to it. Like if you're not on the front lines in a hospital per se, and you do have a job, it's kind of like, oh, I should be thankful for having a job. And so it's like, what's the right balance of you want to be thankful, but you there's so much going on. It's just tough. There's a lot of emotions in it right now.
No, definitely. And it definitely takes a lot of emotional intelligence, especially working within the hospitality industry. But now we're going to look at at burnout from a current perspective. Burnout is an important topic for employees and employers to be aware of and understand. Under normal circumstances, it affects the best of us and can result in a less attentive work, potentially serious mental and physical health issues, and higher job turnover. Now with COVID-19 cases on the rise and hospitality employees experiencing job insecurity, employees and employers must work together to recognize burnout and address the issue. It's important that employers and employees recognize how COVID-19 may affect job burnout and be proactive in preventing it from disrupting their lives.
Yeah, I agree. Specifically for hospitality workers who are constantly working with countless people or tourists, employees may be nervous about contracting the virus and even hurting their families. And according to current research, employers are encouraged to be more flexible, check on their employees, provide positive reinforcement, and keep record of where people have been and with who, according to Levenshko, which was written in 2020. And by doing so, employers can create an environment consisting of communication and understanding that will benefit each individual's physical health.
Yeah, those are all great points. And while employers are responsible for connecting and interacting with their employees, it's also important that the employees stay up to date with the best methods for keeping themselves safe from COVID and managing their own health. So the hospitality industry, we all know, is not going to recover overnight. According to DOGRA, hospitality industry experts report an estimated 11 to 29% decline in revenue as occupancy reports are down across numerous countries. The World Travel, Trade, and Tourism Council predicts that COVID-19 pandemic could actually lead to a loss of 50 million jobs worldwide in the tourism and travel industry.
Yes, the tourism and hospitality industry will definitely be affected by current travel bans, quarantine measures, and economic insecurity. And Doger also said that hotels and restaurants will likely be hard pressed to make cuts wherever possible in order to save money and run smaller operations until prior business levels resume. So Elizabeth, the next question we had about employee wellness was, does your organization have any employee wellness programs, or how have you implemented any wellness programs in a job that you have been in?
Yeah, great question. I'm going to start with the second one first. So my educational background, as you know, it's in kind of like workplace law and it's in health promotion. But a lot of that, and I think my experience in my grad school was doing research on employee wellness programs, as well as for student health as well, just on the campus. And what I realized through that is that there's always like a similar framework when you're developing a workplace wellness program. And it's really about meeting the employees where they're at, right? So like you can design like the best employee wellness program, but if it's not a need, so for example, in the hospitality industry, if those frontline workers don't need this yoga program they're putting together, they're probably not going to go to it. Like you're going to put together a program that they don't see a need for, they don't have the time for, and if they don't understand the value of it, there's like, it's not going to be a good program at the end of it. But so going back to that framework, it's, you have to really understand the need of the population you're trying to work with. And then after that, it's like co-creating with them, right? So then now you ask them like, hey, Ramaz, Molly, like, what do you want in a health promotion program? Like, what's important to you? What do you value? And then also moving forward from there, it's really about, I think you mentioned this earlier too, but like, how can the leadership play a role in incentivizing that behavior? Like, how do you make it important? How do you make it a priority for your employees to attend this program? Like, what, like, why should they? Like, but of course, you know, you have to make that really clear and communicate that with the employees. And then I think the last thing, part of the framework of putting together the workplace wellness program would just be like, what are the goals and objectives? For example, we're moving to the first part of the question now. At my workplace, we don't have a cohesive workplace wellness program. It's pretty much like a stress webinar here, a meditation session there. But like, to me, I don't understand the goal of it. Like, I go to them, I mean, sometimes if I'm free to it, but to me, it just seems like they're putting it out there because they know employees are burnt out. Like, they're like, oh, they're burnt out, give them this like wellness program, like give them this meditation session. But actually, like on the forums, everyone just says like, this isn't helping us. Like, this isn't addressing our burnout. Like, yes, we see that you're trying, but you're not asking us how, like, what would help, really. So for that, I would say there just needs to be more leadership involvement in asking employees, like, what do they want, what do they need, and how they can best support employees. And I think that's really how an employee wellness program like comes together.
Yeah, I actually saw that a lot in the research we were doing, more like organization-based approaches rather than like, and getting feedback from your employees, like the combination of the two is like what's going to get the job done, even if it's like just texting and asking how, like having like a text thing that sets up and sends text to your employees, like that is more like getting more from them than like a yoga class they don't want to go to. Like there's all different
Right.
you know.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's important to listen to the employee's feedback on like after an event to see how you can improve it, or just maybe toss it to do something that might just be better overall for everyone.
Yeah, and I'll add to that too. So in my work with Well Works Free, which is the corporate wellness program company, a lot of the programs we held for our clients, it was pretty much like, hey, bring this form to the doctors, have them fill it out, and you get a discount on your insurance premiums. And like that worked because people had an incentive. But like there was sometimes those programs like, fill out how many vegetables you ate. Like, did it work? I mean, maybe it did. People said they ate vegetables, but who knows, right?
Right. People might just be doing it just for the, yeah, that's true. It's so easy to just kind of lie on it.
Exactly.
So I guess to keep going. So that was a great introduction to better understanding the topic of burnout in the hospitality industry. So now I want us to look into how burnout has affected many hospitality workers globally and the financial toll it's taken on different companies. So this industry is very demanding emotionally, and a lot of frontline workers take the brunt of the, some may call verbal abuse from, you know, customers coming in. For example, hotel workers such as front desk workers, custodians, housekeepers are notoriously known for having constant stressful interactions with customers through long shifts and long task lists. According to Wen, this is written in 2020, these stressful interactions often lead to frontline workers feeling burnt out due to emotional exhaustion and depersonalization.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with your statement, Ramas, especially since hospitality professionals are expected to be helpful, calm, and kind. Even when hotel workers are not communicating with guests, they are expected to display a certain level of professionalism, yet warm exteriors. This only further adds on stress to staff and management. According to Sapala and Cameron, who wrote Proof That Work Cultures Are More Productive, stress does not only affect individuals mentally, it takes a physical toll on a person's body. Stress can lead to tight muscles, achy joints, and headaches. This can lead to doctor's appointments and sick days.
Yeah, I remember reading the same article, and Sapala and Cameron mentioned that experts have estimated that 550 million workdays are lost each year due to preventable workplace stress. When I read that number, I was in shock since that number is so hard to comprehend in a span of a year. With that point, Sapala and Cameron further stated that these days off have cost the economy around 500 billion of lost revenue. Also, burnout can lead to disengagement within the workplace. If people are already feeling tired of clocking in and out and feeling like there's no support from upper management, then they will feel unmotivated or not feel motivated to want to give the guests a great experience.
And since we're on the topic of decreased productivity due to burnout, employees who have mentally checked out of their jobs due to overload or anything of that nature are actually 16% less profitable and 18% less productive in the workplace, according to Sepla and Cameron in the same article. This type of burnout will only continue to have these organizations lose revenue. So that's why it's important to cater to your employees and make them feel like their hard work is being noticed.
No, exactly, Elizabeth. The impact of utilizing different wellness programs and recommending different mental health resources is so important, especially right now with COVID-19, where many people are feeling lost and maybe even hopeless with the outcome this pandemic has caused on our industry. According to Dahlgren in his article, COVID-19 Impact on the Hospitality Workforce, he quotes, "Given the current environment of uncertainty and fear, enterprises are likely to delay investments, purchases of goods, and the hiring of workers." As per data, the impact on the Indian hospitality industry could render a majority of the people in hospitality in India jobless. As a result of this pandemic, the Indian tourism industry is looking at pan-India bankruptcies, closure of businesses, and mass unemployment.
So even though those statistics look pretty grim, I think it's important to look at how executives and managers can use this time to try and innovate their business model with the workforce that they have left so that when the industry does come back and is running again, it can be better than it was before. Marie Nieves, who is a lifestyle blogger that wrote 5 important ways the COVID-19 pandemic has changed the travel and hotel industries, she mentions how sustainable travel will lead to a more eco-friendly future for the hotel industry. And these countries are implementing sustainable travel measures and regulations to keep pollution at bay and maintain public health, even with the expectations of CO2 emissions to rise back again to the public and private sectors. So they're doing their best to minimize these negative effects. I guess like another question we have is, what would be your advice to keep employees motivated during COVID-19?
I love these statistics you guys all pulled. Like, this is also great and like resonates so well with other industries outside of your own, but it's great to hear like how much more it resonates in the hospitality industry and the different unique challenges that exist. For me, I think you already mentioned this, I think Garrett said it, but it has to come from the leadership, right? Like, it has to come from the top, the managers, and they need to really show their employees that they care. Like, you need to show your employees that you care about their health, and everything you're doing is, it's not just because you need them to work because you need to make a profit, right? It's not about bringing in the money in just because you need to keep running your business, but if you want your employees to be productive and you want them to be actually happy in their job, you have to show them that you have to care for their health. And something that my workplace has done is, which took forever to get done, but they finally implemented a no meetings after 1 p.m. on Fridays. And it's actually amazing. And the purpose was really to let people start catching up on work, because people did have meetings at like 6 p.m. on a Friday, which like should never happen in the first place. But it really took leadership saying like, hey, like no more meetings after 1 p.m. It has to be before then, or make it Monday. Like it's such an easy change, or you think it would be easy, but it took forever to get here. And after it was done, you really see the leadership and like my managers too saying like, let's honor this. And, it makes everyone feel better and makes everyone more productive because you actually have the time to get work done. I think just that little tweak and that little encouragement really helped everyone just feel a little like sigh of relief. And I don't know how it applies exactly in the hospitality industry, but some type of equivalent, just to recognize employees and realize, they're working hard, but letting them kind of be able to be more productive and use their time without feeling like they're always burdened with stress and having to work.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that brings up a really good point about maybe sometimes people think wellness has to be really expensive and people have to go on these wellness journeys or trips, but it actually can be something completely free, just making a new initiative within the workplace, as like not having meetings on later on Fridays, because that really does help. And it shows that you're really listening to your employees on what they want and what they don't want. So that's a really interesting point. I hope that, I don't know, maybe more businesses will be inclined to do that, because that really is a great initiative.
Yeah, going off of that, like it's like what we said earlier, like when you're trying to do something like like a yoga class, like that's just more work for me to like go out of my way to want to go to that, when it could be something that could actually help with the workload I have now, not add on to the workload.
Yeah, a hotel that I worked for recently, Courtyard at the South Navy Yard. It's in South Philadelphia. They used to, during work, they would allow us to go on walks, like as a whole group, if the day was very slow. And maybe you wouldn't think it would work, but everybody really enjoyed it, because it was kind of like the whole hotel was kind of like a little family, and really just everybody was talking and just enjoying themselves. And it was a nice little break from work.
Yeah, those are all great ideas. So now that we understand the impact of burnout and we've kind of discussed a few ideas that people can use within their businesses, we're going to shift the conversation onto more potential solutions that we've kind of researched throughout our time learning about burnout. So researchers Christopher Thomas and Melanie Lankow concluded that high quality relationships between supervisors and employees can actually minimize burnout also. So this is due to the increased level of mutual respect, trust, support, and also eliminating ambiguity and confusion within the workplace, which are two of the main contributors to burnout.
Yeah, taking that idea a step further, the same study suggests that mentoring can have a positive effect on mentees in the workplace. A mentor's role is to help navigate, provide encouragement, and counseling mentees through tough situations. This understanding of direct support can improve a mentee's self-confidence, image, and efficiency. With this mindset, workers are more likely to complete duties to the best of their ability, resulting in pride in their work rather than stress.
Yeah, so I never realized mentors could not only be vital to our professional success, but also our mental health. So knowing their strong impact on improving work culture and a person's well-being, we believe it would be a good idea to implement a mentor matching during the onboarding process at hotels and hospitality institutions. The onboarding process is an employee's first look into the company's culture, which can be very stressful, by the company stepping up and assigning an established employee who understands the company's culture and can answer any outstanding questions regarding tasks and duties. It shows that the company is transparent and values the employee's success over potential office politics. So I guess another question to go off that is, what do you think the advantages and disadvantages are of being assigned a mentor at the beginning of your career with a company versus organically finding your own mentor?
Yeah, I love this question, because I never thought about the differences between like when you get your mentor. So at my company, I do have a mentor. I have two actually. One was given to me during my onboarding, and then the other was kind of when I got assigned to a project. So one's like more like company based, and the other is like more specific to the project I'm working on. So advantages, I feel like when you don't know anything, when you're just first joining, it's great to have someone to ask questions, right? And you don't have to keep bothering your HR. And it might just be something your HR team doesn't know. Like, it's easy to ask a question to someone that is in your role or has experienced something that you're facing. Just someone to help you and maybe complain to if needed. But maybe some disadvantages is the same thing, right? You don't know anything yet. So it's kind of hard to ask those questions because you don't know the questions you should be asking yet. And then that also, leaves the mentor kind of like, how do I help you? Like, and you need to ask questions to really get that help. And then when it comes to finding one organically, I feel like there's a lot of pros to this, because maybe you'll find someone you really connect with that, maybe you look up to potentially. And maybe it's just someone you like really can confide in and trust, which is totally fine. You can still like have them as a mentor, I guess. I guess the disadvantage of this is that I feel like there's always, on one way or another, there's going to be people that are more favorable. So how do you ensure it's like equal to everyone, right? That everyone has like a qualified, I don't want to use the word qualified, but like a mentor they really, really like, and how is it fair for the mentor to have mentees, like enough mentees to spread across without like some of them having more than others. I feel like they both have their pros and cons. I prefer the one that you just get during onboarding, and maybe do it the way that ZS does it, where you kind of find one that's kind of given to you at the beginning when you first onboard for general questions. And then when you move on to like more specific work or other types of work that you work more closely with others, you can find another one that you can really go to complain. That's what I use my mentor for. I complain about projects, and it's someone you can talk to that isn't gonna like tell on you. I don't know how, like, they don't work directly with me, so it's easy to, you know, complain to them, and it won't like impact me in my work.
Yeah, I feel like that definitely helps with burnout too. Like, even if it is just like complaining or whatever you're saying, like getting those feelings out in the open versus like just sitting behind your computer and like thinking about them. Like you actually have
Yeah.
someone to talk to, and like a mentor like might actually like was probably in your shoes at one point and knows like how your task can be like so tiresome and stuff like that. So at least they have someone to talk to and like start that communication about burnout if there is any.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
also think,
I will.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to add, when you were talking about the whole burnout thing, I feel like sometimes my mentor will complain to me too. So it's like a two-way street. But go on, Elizabeth.
That's good. I also love that you brought up that you have two mentors. I think a lot of times we forget that we don't only have to have one and done, one mentor for the rest of our lives. Because like, as we know, especially us during college and early in our careers, our interests are kind of developing. We're figuring out what we want to do. So different types of mentors might be really beneficial in finding different parts of your industry or different industries in general. So I really think two mentors could be a really great idea for a lot of people. Yeah, so mentors are, as we were talking about, are great for fielding questions during the transition from college to a full-time position. Speaking of college, we do have a few ideas how SDHM can incorporate wellness and burnout prevention into their curriculum. According to Koch and Bozerk's study in 2017, which asked hotel workers with college educations to predict their stress levels for the next 3 years in comparison to their stress levels now, 63.6% of participants stated that they foresee themselves being actually more stressed within the upcoming 3 years. This can be attributed to college graduates potentially beginning their postgraduate life in more management roles, which oftentimes have more responsibilities and expectations.
Yeah, so that's a shocking statistic. As an STHM student, one's courses delve into topics such as finances, food and beverage sales, and multiple research-intensive courses, so allowing for us to graduate greatly qualified for management positions. So we are given multiple opportunities to critically discuss the industry, and there's a lack of focus on employee burnout and wellness. We believe that beginning courses that focus on mental wellness and burnout in the hospitality industry will begin a constructive conversation on how to identify these stressors, management tactics, and how to change the normalization of grind culture within our industry. This class will not only allow students to better prepare themselves to prevent their own burnout, but also their employees' burnout as a manager. Another question, our final question is, have you considered implementing a wellness day for your employees/peers, or would you want to participate in a wellness course?
Yeah, so I think jumping into my first job out of college, out of my graduate program, this is something that was always on my mind about like, how do we bring wellness into the workplace more? And like, what else can we do? We could always be doing more. I think the more I became an employee and like got to know the culture and got to know people around me, I realized a lot of them just wouldn't be interested in this. Like we have learning days at CS where it's one full day, or I guess it's half a day, but it's a full day of just different sessions you can join to like different workshops. And that alone people complain about. So I think this goes back to like our very first point about like, what are the needs of your employees? Like, what do people want to see? What do they want to do? I think it's just going to really depend, because if I had to want to say, like, of course I'd go to like every session, but that's because, you know, this is like something I'm really interested in. For others, it might just take a little bit more like asking them, figuring out like, what are they interested in? Because like going back to the first example, if I ask a coworker to join a yoga session with me, depending on if they're interested in it or not, maybe or maybe not, they'll attend. But if the whole goal is just to help them be more, physically active, or maybe even just like mindful, there's other ways that you can do that, right? Without like forcing someone to take a yoga class.
Yeah.
So I have thought about it, and we are doing little things at ZS to bring health and wellness more, right? Health and wellness more to the forefront. But right now it's very much like mental health. So I'm very like into physical activity and like physical health, but it's not like a big enough, I don't say issue, but big enough of a cause that's out there yet. So right now we're focusing on just on mental health, and we've been bringing a lot of speakers on, and it's kind of just like random webinars. So that's what's been working, I guess, with like higher participation.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm not sure about you guys, but talking all about burnout today has already made me feel more relieved and connected with people experiencing this common issue. As we wrap things up, we want to emphasize that dealing with burnout does not have to be an individual process. And in fact, according to Flannery 2020, if one employee is struggling with burnout, it is very common that those around them are feeling the exact same way. It is more beneficial for yourself, fellow employees, and your organization to communicate your feelings and work together to find some solutions. Elizabeth, we just want to thank you for coming to our podcast today. It was nice to hear from a wellness professional about all the things we've been researching all semester. So,
No, thank you so much for having me. I was so happy to hear everything you've talked about. I read some articles before I joined the call earlier today, and it's very interesting. Like, I've been reading about what like different hotel industries are doing to promote health, and like I read an article with, I forget which hotel it was, but they bought like all of their housekeeping staff like certain shoes, because like they're always on their feet and everything. So I thought that was really cool.
yeah, there's so many different things related to each unique industry, and each hotel has their own creative ideas. So, yeah.
It's a good way to make let the employees feel like they are appreciated, like, and for putting their time and their lives on the line to continue to move forward within the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with that being said, we would like to leave you with some burnout resources. Follow us on Twitter at Beating Burnout 1, or go to our website on Beating Burnout for more conversation surrounding burnout and solution. But yeah, as a whole, thank you for joining us for the edition of THE Podcast. Elizabeth, THE Podcast is brought to you by Contemporary Issues in Tourism, Hospitality, and Events Capstone Class, part of the SCHM program at Temple University.